We have from thepostmillennial.com, Joe Rogan challenges, I love this, vaccine enthusiast Peter Hotez to debate RFK Jr. I just get this idea of a vaccine addict.
Stop hitting them. So I need another one, Chuck.
Boost me now. I need my boost. To debate RFK Jr. on misinformation. Now, we all know the rules of the road. I don't want to get into any of the specifics because Luke Rudkowski had played some of the argument. Ian, you have the story. Yeah. What happened to Luke when he played just a clip of RFK from Joe Rogan? Don't actually play the clip, Ian.
No, I won't. I don't even know. I didn't see the specific. I don't even know if the video is still up. But I just saw that Luke tweeted it out that he reposted a clip of RFK talking with Rogan, I imagine, from that show.
Yeah, from the episode.
Yeah. And that YouTube was like, your entire channel is now demonetized.
Yeah, so not just that video, it was the entire channel
that's
got demonetized.
Hard.
That is really harsh. That is really harsh. And it takes a lot for me to say that about anything that happened to Luke. That's rough.
Yeah, it's sad to sympathize with Luke, but I'm going to, because I stand up for all Americans and all humans. Amen. Free speech must prevail.
Well, and I'll say this: there are better reasons. There are better reasons to clamp down on Luke. He's awful. Yeah, I don't think what he did here is really worthy of the punishment.
Here's the question. So we now see that Joe Rogan, he made the huge offer. This got massive on Twitter. Tim Prime was offering money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think it's up to 1.2 million the last time I checked, of money that would be donated to charity. By the way, if Peter Hotez, MD, PhD, were willing to go on to Joe Rogan and debate with him about with RFK about vaccines, about the use of vaccines, vaccine mandates, mRNA vaccines, all of these different things, because they've both been on Joe Rogan. And now this isn't like he has to go on and win the debate. This is just, if you are willing to do this, all of this money will be donated to the charity of your choice. And then, of course, he's saying, I won't do this. There have been arguments. He's calling it threatening. He's calling it harassment.
I hate when I get threatened with hundreds of thousands of dollars
to a charity.
It's the worst.
Choice.
Dude, if that's a threat, my goodness.
And so what I want to ask is this, what do we think?
Well,
should the debate happen? And here's the question that I want to put out, because I stand for free speech. I think, do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
We all agree. We all stand for free speech. We all believe in debate. Here's my question, though. Is a public debate the right way to do medicine? Is this the right search for truth? Because that's, of course, that's the response. And so devil's advocate, he's saying, well, wait a minute, that's not how we do science. You just were talking about before about dialogue with synthesis. How can you have synthesis if someone's just right and something's wrong? How do you respond?
Yeah, so what I would say is that dialogue or conversation with non-experts is not a way to reach conclusion on or reach a clear conclusion on any medical question, but that's not what's being discussed here. What is being asked is whether he can justify telling all of the American people that they have to, and in many instances should be required to, either by law or mandate from their employer, to get this particular medical treatment, okay? So there's a difference. There's a difference between saying the medical process should be determined based on a single public conversation between a doctor and somebody who isn't a doctor, and saying, well, if the medical science is as clear as they're claiming, and all of our concerns about people who were scientists and who were doctors being pushed out of the establishment and silenced for their views can be nullified and aren't actual concerns, then should this man who advocates for the use of this particular medical treatment be able to explain to the American people with an adversary in the room that this treatment is worthwhile? I would argue yes. And I would argue that while not everyone is skilled at debating, and therefore not going to be equally capable of promoting a message, even if it's truthful, if he's not talented in this area or rhetorically gifted enough or quick enough on his feet to engage in that kind of a conversation, what he should do is find somebody who is capable of defending the position, and then that person should go on Joe Rogan and make RFK look like a fool, and then have well over $1 million donated to a charity of this man's choice, and also convince a large vaccine skeptical segment of the population that they should get the jab. That's what should happen.
So you're arguing for a that Peter Hotez can choose a champion.
I think
just
exactly.
like trial by combat.
Exactly. No, exactly. If he's not gifted enough to debate, look, that's totally fair. Not everyone has to debate. Not everyone's equally good at it. It's a different skill set. At the same time, if someone offered me over $1 million to a charity of my choice to have a conversation about something I'm an expert on with someone who I claim is a crackpot conspiracy theorist, I cannot imagine a rationalization for turning that down.
That's easy money.
I really can't. And I'll say this. There are conversations that I think are genuinely damaging. So if someone is promoting a new idea that the culture is already completely against, and you could be giving legitimacy to that idea by debating them. So for example, if someone were saying that we should have a public dialogue about the acceptance of pedophilia, I would be unwilling to engage in that kind of conversation because the public is already against that, and having a conversation about it could give legitimacy to that idea. But this is totally different. But this is totally different
because the public's against it, or would you just be against? Or
I also think we're hitting moral bedrock there, where it's just fundamentally obvious why this thing is disgusting, and you shouldn't give voice to any opposition who would say that something like that is morally acceptable. But this is different. These vaccines, in this particular kind of vaccine, is something that has been pushed onto the American people, which the American people have not wholeheartedly accepted at this point. So the burden of proof is actually on the person introducing the new idea to have conversation about it. And they've been unwilling. And one last thing I'll say about this is all of the arguments that are being made about the concerns that the medical establishment has about making conspiracy theories seem legitimate by having conversations and debates defending their viewpoint are arguments that they would have made about defending the wet market hypothesis 3 years ago. And we know how that turned out. So these people don't have the scientific or moral authority that they have claimed that they have. This isn't a situation where we should all sit down and shut up because they've been right about everything. They've been proven wrong, and with a track record like theirs, it is completely and abundantly reasonable for the American people to ask for a little bit of transparency and have one of these people have a public conversation about what they're promoting to the American people with one adversary in the room to be able to give them some pushback. Dude, that's what I think.
I was just thinking about the companies that make vaccines and other medicines, and how when you're a corporation, you have a duty to your stockholders to make money, so that there's already a thing of like, don't make us sell less because we'll lose money. So we have to, and like, why is there a profit motive in the medical industry? That is incredibly wrong.
Yeah. So you want socialism? I'm kidding.
I want healthy people. I want to talk about diet. I want to talk about what Rogan was talking to Peter Hotez about when he had him on his show in the beginning, which is, what do you eat? And Peter's like, I eat junk food. And Joe's like, are you kidding me? There's so much evidence that eating healthy gives your body resilience against COVID as much as other things that you can get. And vitamin D, do you take supplements? And Peter's like, I don't really take supplements. He's like, this is crazy that you're a doctor, but you don't eat healthy and you don't take supplements. So I want to hear that conversation. I think Peter's probably very nervous to get humiliated in public about his diet. And also I think he's on his own against RFK Jr. and Joe, because they are both, as far as I know, very much like eat healthy. That's the beginning. And so I think it would be reasonable if Peter brought another doctor in with him. Yes. And there was a 4-person debate. Even if Joe wants to be a moderator, I think he's biased about this for good or evil, whatever. And I know that Peter loves Joe, but a guy went to Peter's house, Hotez, and like got his camera up and was like, why aren't you doing, I didn't even watch the video yet, but that's where Peter's saying he's being harassed. Don't go to his house. Don't go to people's houses. This started on Twitter. Keep it on Twitter.
Which people were kind of writing off at first. They're like, oh yeah, this never happened. Because he like took to the tweet and he's like, oh, by the way, I was just harassed at my house. And I think like a couple of conservatives like hopped on like, oh yeah, just like Jussie Smollett, you know, like, or Jussie Smollett, like he was attacked. And then there was like video evidence that it actually did happen. And then
wait before we jump on these stories, guys. Wait before you call somebody a faker. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I love about the right is that the goalposts always shift for us. And by the way, like I know I'm kind of like crapping a lot on conservatives today, just because somebody said like, oh, that Hispanic guy is probably a rhino, which is actually accurate. I'm a Republican in name only because there is no political movement right now that actually truly represents and harnesses my outward anger toward the government.
Same, man.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I am a Republican in name only, but Republicans get a lot wrong. Michael Knowles said at a conservative event, he said the Republican Party is a party of no. Democrats present solutions. They might be wrong. They might be stupid. They might be outlandish, but at least they have solutions. The Republicans are just a party of no. You know, the Democrats are like, oh, we want this healthcare. And the Republicans are like, nope. It's like, okay, but what solutions do you have then? And then the problem is that there just really isn't a lot of those in the Republican Party. But as far as the debate goes, I think it absolutely should happen. I'm kind of like with you, you know, even what you were just arguing against, I'm actually for it. Like, dude, let these people make, you know, an example of themselves. Like there was like that TED talk that we're talking about, like it's time to talk about minor attracted persons. Bro, identify every single person that attends that TED talk and look into their computers. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's like, bro, why censor any of this? This is why, you know, like I love Turning Point and I love a lot of the conservative right, but it's like we self-censor people that we consider too radical, you know? And it's like, I understand a lot of it has to do with like donors and like public image, and we don't want to be associated with some people, but it's like, dude, if you're right, then just go ahead and like make the argument for it, you know, like again, and this is why it kind of like irks me when it's like we claim to be like, oh, we're all about free speech. Like, well, what about this guy? Like, oh, like that's a little bit too much for us. Like, we can't talk about that because, you know, censorship, donors, whatever it is, sponsors, you know. And to me, it's like, dude, just talk about it and just debate it. And like, if the person is wrong, then the person is wrong,
right?
You know,
yeah.
and
so is the best medicine.
I mean,
it's the thing that's going to reveal the truth. Honestly, is just putting into open discussion.
I don't entirely agree. I think that showing certain lifestyles or bad behavior can actually normalize it, though. I think we're probably going to have to agree to disagree on that point if we're having a broader conversation about whether this debate should happen. My main point here is that even with the framework that you can argue, like an expert shouldn't be having a conversation with a non-expert about this, or there are some ideas so heinous that it would be wrong to discuss them or debate them publicly. This certainly doesn't fall into that category. Well, and I'll also add this. We'll just hold on. I will also say here that what is being posited here is a non-medical expert having a debate on a podcast with a doctor. Now, interestingly enough, I actually think that would debatably make it more of a layup for the other side, right? What they should be saying is, it wouldn't be right for me to debate a non-medical expert. Therefore, get me a doctor. Get a doctor on your show who disagrees with me so he and I can have the conversation. Or get a panel of doctors. Let me bring other doctors who are specialists in the different field that are the different fields that would contribute to this conversation. And then you get doctors who are on the other side of the question. But it's not
like
enough.
Dr. Malone, maybe.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.